So I was running my solo flawless dungeon yesterday morning, and I'm not joking when I say that I threw somewhere around 20 supers in just this one single encounter, and I was able to easily 3-phase the boss with basically 2 fire plates left on the 3rd final phase. So I guess you could call it a 2.5 phase then, right? But I was able to throw 3 supers on every damage cycle, so I was only missing 1 of the 4 plates, which means I threw a super at every plate except 1 in each damage cycle. And then I would just super the chieftains as well every time they spawned in to activate the totems. Talk about super easy and a really fun time at that. That is until how my solo flawless run ended. Yeah, that's just rough right there. What a way to lose the run. Now since I haven't done a hunter build yet this season, I wanted to see what was possible on a solar hunter with all their exotic changes, and I think you all will really enjoy this one. There are going to be 5 different ways to increase our overall damage that we'll go over, and then also 5 different ways to increase your super gains. This allows us to only need 3 kills to get over a quarter of our super back, and that's how we can just throw them out at whatever we want, whenever we want. And then the icing on the cake is the ignitions that's going to happen. Whatever you use this build on, you're just going to let off so many ignitions that it sounds really cool and it looks really cool. So let's talk about our super first and how we're going to be able to throw so many of these bad boys. As you guys all know, I like abilities and supers in Destiny 2, so I find this part more enjoyable than just overall damage, weapon damage wise. Now we are taking Blade Barrage on the Solar Hunter, and we're going to take the knock 'em down aspect. What this does for our Blade Barrage is launches more projectiles. That just means more overall damage, and then also while radiant, final blows with your equipped throwing knife fully refine your melee energy. This is pretty much standard in all Solar Hunter builds, so you guys should be running this. And then the best melee to take with this is Knife Trick. It's just the easiest to use. Since the knives fan out, you can guarantee at least a hit on an enemy to get radiant instead of just missing your knife. And then make sure you take the healing grenade. This is how we have infinite restoration and are able to survive in whatever content we're doing. And then take Gambler's Dodge, so when you dodge near an enemy, you get your melee back. And we're going to be dodging a lot. For your second aspect, this one is up to you. If I am not running damage on a boss, so if I was doing like Lost Sectors or something, I would actually trade this out for Gunpowder Gamble. But in the gameplay you're watching, I do have On Your Mark on. That's just so I can swap between my weapons quicker and get that overall damage up. But like I said, if I'm not on a boss, I am using Gunpowder Gamble, because every 6 seconds, you literally are going to have a instant ignition bomb that can clear rooms of enemies. I really like Gunpowder Gamble, and I normally run it anywhere unless I'm dealing with a boss. Let's go over the fragments really quickly, and then we'll get into all the different things that add to your super energy. We take Ember of Ashes, so we apply more scorch attacks to targets. This allows your scorching weapon and just your throwing knives, fan of knives, to actually ignite an enemy. Next, we take Ember of Singeing. Your class ability recharges faster when you scorch targets. This is a 300% additional base class ability regen, and this is procced all the time when we are using Dragon's Breath on any boss. So you have basically infinite dodges as long as Dragon Breath is tagging something because it is scorching them. And that scorch is up because of Ember of Ashes, so it's going to cause more ignitions. Next, we take Ember of Empyrean. This allows solar weapon or ability final blows to extend restoration and radiant for us, so that's where we get that infinite restoration. And then we are going to take Ember of Torches, so those powered melee attacks make you and nearby allies radiant. So free 25% weapon damage bonus. We have it all the time thanks to Empyrean, and that's what refunds our melee with the knock 'em down aspect. The last fragment, when you're running On Your Mark, is up to you. You wouldn't be running an extra fragment here if you were running Gunpowder Gamble, but on bosses I like to run Ember of Beams, so your solar super projectiles have stronger target acquisition. This allows all those Blade Barrage to actually hit the boss and guarantee half your super back from our exotic. Now, like I mentioned earlier, our exotic is Dragon's Breath. I didn't even have the catalyst yet in the gameplay that you're watching, but since we're causing so many ignitions from our throwing knives and our dodging and our knives, it just allows Dragon's Breath to auto reload on its own very quickly, and it's causing that scorch damage for that infinite class ability. And we're beefing up that damage again, like I said, in a lot of different ways. Now, our exotic armor piece is Shards of Galanor. This got reworked this season and it's very nice. Throwing knife final blows decrease the cooldown of your super. Hits and final blows with Blade Barrage will return super energy after the super ends. So as soon as we use that super, we get half of it back instantly as long as we hit targets. And now our throwing knives gives us extra super energy. This is anywhere from 2.5% to 5% based on the enemy rank that we kill. But we're gonna get that super coming back even quicker. So even at the base of 2.5% on just a normal red bar enemy, it adds up very quickly thanks to a couple mods. First off, on the helmet, you apply 1 hands-on. If you can fit 2 in there, I would use 2, but I needed a heavy ammo finder in the dungeon for heavy ammo. This just gets us extra super energy on every melee kill. So we combine that with the Shards of Galanor buff and we're already cooking. Next, we add on heavy-handed. This spawns an orb of power every melee kill. This is on a 10-second cooldown, but that's still an extra orb of power that's going to heal us thanks to a different mod, and just give us extra super energy when we pick it up. And then on your helmet, you also take Harmonic Siphon. So all those solar weapon final blows that we're getting, that come really easy thanks to the Radiant buff from our subclass and the Solar Surge mods that we're going to be going over for another 17% damage. It allows us to pop out orbs very quickly on double kills. And when you pick those up, that's even more super energy. And then we add in the Reaper mod for another orb of power every 10 seconds after we dodge. And as you can see in the gameplay, infinite supers with infinite melees with infinite dodges, and a very high uptime on our healing grenade. For the rest of your mods, on your gauntlets, you want to take 2 impact inductions. This grants grenade ability energy when we deal damage with our melee. It's on a 7-second cooldown, but that just feeds that healing grenade for us. On your chest piece, that's your damage resistance, and then I had 1 harmonic reserves on, just for extra rocket ammo. On your boots, you take those 2 solar weapon surges, just to add a 17% damage bonus to your secondary and our heavy, which is Dragon's Breath, which is great. And then you also do want to take recuperation when you're dealing with something like a solo flawless dungeon. Since we actually are making quite a bit of orbs with this build, this just restores 70 HP on an orb pickup. So a nice chunk of health every time we grab an orb, and that just helps us staying alive with our healing grenades. On the class item, we're going to take Time Dilation. This just extends our armor charges to 15 seconds for that damage window. And then we already went over Reaper, which was the second mod on the class item. For your stats on the build, aim for 100 resilience. That's a must for your damage reduction. And then I would push up your discipline and your mobility. But your mobility really isn't needed thanks to Ember of Singeing and always having that procced. Now for the artifact mods this season, if you're running solo in anything, I would take a couple of these mods. First off, I had From Whence You Came On, increase ability damage to taken and scorned combatants. This is just a 5% damage buff to our abilities. Another one you definitely want to take is Revitalizing Blast. Causing damage with a solar ability weakens champions and bosses for a short duration. This is a 15% weaken for about 5 seconds. So just hit that throwing knife, which you want to be using anyways on the boss because it's applying Scorch and it's going to cause an ignition, but it's going to weaken them, which makes the ignition do more damage. It makes everything else do more damage, about 5 to 6 seconds. Next, you want to take Solo Operative. Another 15% damage buff all the time to everything that you're using. This is weapons and abilities and supers, everything. So a great mod for solo. And the last one I had on was Argent Ordnance. So our rocket launchers is going to consume a stack of armor charge, but it's going to increase damage and reload speed. We don't really need the reload speed. So I hope you guys give this build a try. I think you'll really enjoy it. It's definitely one of the more fun builds I've played with lately and still viable. Like if I was running the coil activity this season, you'd probably Blade Barrage in there like every 10 seconds. But you know what? Tomorrow, I think that's what I'm going to go try to do this on. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys all in the next video. Have a great rest of your day.